This Heartless actually means something to me, something I don't think many others know. When I was a kid, I only had a GameCube. I didn't get a PS2 until I was in high school. But by then, I had been a fan of Kingdom Hearts since Chain of Memories came out on the GBA. While it may sound understandable, as I could have just played Chain of Memories and didn't really keep up with the games until I got a PS2, what makes this weird is the fact that I actually did keep up with the games as I grew up. I kept up with the games despite never actually owning any of them until 358 Days Over 2. I didn't even play most of them until I got my PS2. Seeing commercials for the games and hearing my friends talk about it fascinated me to the point where I was a fan of a game series I could never really get deep into on my own. Until I got a PS2, the only games in the series I had ever actually played were Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, and 358 Days Over 2. Even then, I had only ever borrowed Chain of Memories, and I only beat the game because I loaded up my friend's in-game save. Everything else I just watched gameplay of or knew the plot from talking to my friends at school who did have the games. I've been a big fan of Kingdom Hearts since Chain of Memories, yet I never really got into them until high school. The reason why Opposite Armor means something to me is because I didn't know he existed. The only times I ever got to play Kingdom Hearts 1 were sometimes after church. I'd go over to my cousin's house and play. However, I never saved and I could never get past the initial Wonderland, Olympus Coliseum, and Deep Jungle worlds. All I ever could do was finish one of those worlds, and by the time I did, it was time to leave. I played Kingdom Hearts so much that my cousin started to hate the game because of me constantly replaying the exact same worlds. That's why when I finally got a PS2, the first games I played were the PS2 Kingdom Hearts games. I had seen the ending of the first round of worlds, but I never saw what happened when you finished all three. The first time I went back to Traverse Town, I was so surprised to find the first boss I knew so well was completely reworked to become a new boss that wasn't simply just the same enemy with a different color. The Opposite Armor represents to me the point where I was finally able to play all these games that I had been fascinated with since I was a kid. Since then, I now own and have played every game in the series, with only having never beaten Chain of Memories because my disc is scratched and I can't escape Wonderland. With the 1.5 plus 2.5 remix being released on the PS4, I jumped at the chance, like many, to own the entire franchise on a single console, and I decided that as I replayed the series, I was going to do a retrospective on each game. Not a review per se, but a retrospective. I won't be treating this video like a review where I give a score or anything like that. This was the case with the entire series. But then Some Call Me Johnny started his Kingdom Hearts marathon and I realized I forgot that was happening. I decided to drop the series retrospective idea as I didn't want to do the same thing as other YouTubers I already watched, no matter how small I am. Despite this, I had already started work on my retrospective for Kingdom Hearts 1, so I'm going to deliver on this before I move on to my next video. While I doubt I'll be adding anything new to the table, I want to give my own opinion on the game as well as a bit of an analysis on certain aspects of it that I feel raise it above so many of its contemporaries. And with that, let's the retrospective begin! As with a lot of my videos, I want to go ahead and get the negatives out there. I prefer to leave the video off on a high note and get the negative stuff out of the way. As always, don't take this as me hating the game, I'm just an overly critical person. One of the biggest issues with the game can be found in both of the possible first two Disney worlds you can go to after leaving Traverse Town, Wonderland and Olympus Coliseum. Some of the world layouts are just fucking lazy. For example, Wonderland and the Coliseum are literally just a bunch of boxes throughout the entire level. While the Coliseum has more of an excuse as it's only 3 rooms, it still didn't have to be just boxes. Meanwhile, Wonderland has no excuse at all. Past the Bazaar Room, the only area in the world that actually makes sense to be box-shaped, the rooms all feel like you're in a painted cardboard box. You can literally see the corners. I think they were going for a playful, toy-like feel to the world, but it just doesn't work here, and instead it comes off as incredibly lazy. While this does improve as the game goes on, there are still issues of worlds being confusing. Areas like Atlantica and Monstro are confusing as all hell and are a pain to navigate because the rooms all look the same. I can't tell you how to navigate those worlds for the most part. You just gotta recognize things in each room to give you an idea of where you are. Another big issue that has been beaten to death by fans of the series for over a decade now are the gummy ship sections, and rightfully so. While I don't think the segments are as terrible as people say, they're still pretty bad. Awkward controls, ridiculous challenges, and snail's pacing, even when you have the boost equipped, make the eventual warp drive a saving grace for the game. I do, however, like building my own ship, even if the ship builder can be confusing to navigate at times. Some other issues include the side quests and getting 100% completion being ridiculous, especially in Final Mix, which was the version I used to replay the game. In Final Mix, they made it so that synthesis is harder, as they added in tons of more shit that you need to synthesize first, as well as changing the formulas for a lot of already existing recipes. Combat is way too simple in the first half of the game and arguably doesn't get somewhat complex until the end, and even if you pick the sword in the beginning, that's the case. Magic and summons also feel pretty useless, and the only spells you'll be using throughout is Cure and Arrow. The rest are either useless or incredibly situational. A lot of the worlds can also feel like filler or could just be removed outright and it would affect nothing. Plus, a lot of the characters in these worlds aren't developed much at all, leaving any character development to the movies they're originally from. If you haven't seen all the movies, there will be characters in these worlds, whether hero or villain, that you won't care about. Another issue I had replaying the game is only one that became a problem retroactively as the series went on. Knowing the full plot of the games actually brings down certain aspects of the original. So many retcons as the overall plot became more realized ends up ruining what was originally a really good villain. Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, used to be a king who unwittingly was seduced by the thing he set out to study and went mad from it. Now it's been retconned so that the guy we're fighting is actually just the Heartless of Ansem's assistant, who was always just an evil asshole. It ruins the great build-up Ansem got as you collect and read Ansem's reports. However, without a doubt the biggest problem in the game is Atlantica. More so than the gummy ship, people beat the Atlantica sucks complaint to death, and I'm right there to continue beating the 15-year-old corpse. Everything that helps make the combat not a simple 3-hit combo you spam over and over and over and over is taken away, while also adding horrid swimming controls hindered by a camera that wasn't made to look up farther than a 40-degree angle, resulting in you hitting your head on shit you couldn't see coming and then making the camera have a fit. Touching on an earlier complaint of the worlds being confusing, every room in Atlantica except Ursula's lair, the sunken ship, Ariel's grotto, and the castle all look the exact same. It's way too easy to get lost in, and it's all just fucking awful. Except for Ursula's fucked up eyes during the boss fight with her. They are glorious and the only thing that makes this world somewhat worth it. Kind of as a transitional piece, I want to talk about something that works both against the game as well as for it. The pacing. The game is slow and pretty calm throughout the entire adventure, and it actually helps add to the atmosphere of each world. It forces you to take in more of what they're showing you. It results in listening to the fantastic music of each world and each battle for a long time, something that really does make each world feel distinct from each other. You also end up taking in the writing, world design, art design, and so much more for longer. It all adds together to recreate the atmosphere each movie these worlds are based on had, something I plan to go into more detail later. However, the slow pacing works against the game as it just ends up making the gameplay and combat exactly that, slow. Going from one end of a world to the other can be a chore at times as you just wade through the areas you've already been through many times before. Backtracking is annoying and isn't somewhat improved until you get the super glide at the very, very end of the game. While the speed is improved upon in later games, the slow pacing of this game ends up making Kingdom Hearts 1 a standout among the series, for both better and worse. Thus far, I have listed a bunch of faults with the game that I feel end up harming the overall experience. However, these problems do not prevent the game from being the classic that it is, as the positives greatly outweigh the negatives. While the world layouts can be lazy, confusing, or just downright weird, they're all very well used. Nothing feels like it's just there. Even if Wonderland is lazily thrown together, the Bazaar Room is the best area in the game as you explore every nook and cranny of it, whether it be on the floor, the walls, or the ceiling. Combat is simple, but it's incredibly satisfying and fun. I constantly felt like I was on my toes in battle, keeping an eye out for when to dodge roll and when to attack. The combat also gets more complex and satisfying the higher level you are. Plus, how can you not love the slow-mo at the end of each boss fight? Some people like to do one last attack during this, but I'm more of a slow-mo dodge roll guy. Earlier, I said the game's music is fantastic, and I will always stand by this. Yoko Shimomura is without a doubt one of the best video game composers of all time, and the music she has made for Kingdom Hearts is up there as one of, if not her best work. The soundtrack ranges from calmingly sleepy tunes such as the iconic Dearly Beloved, one of my favorite game tracks of all time, beautifully haunting pieces like Hollow Bastion's theme, fun and upbeat tracks like the battle theme from Neverland, Pirates Gyug, or the absolute masterpiece that is Guardano nel Buio, the final boss music. The best part about it is that it's not even the best OST in the series, yet it's already one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. The greatest accomplishment of this series in my eyes, however, is its ability to recapture the tone, the feel, and the atmosphere of each Disney World perfectly, while also having its own distinct atmosphere that, while different, is still very much Disney. The story of each Disney World can honestly just be summed up as fan fiction. It's not hard to imagine a middle school student coming up with some of these plots.
Hey guys, check out my fan fiction. In this story, my favorite characters Jack Skellington, Kirito, and SpongeBob team up with my original anime character Takeshi-kun as they take down the evil Mr. Hinton, who killed Takeshi-sama's family after he gave him an effing math class. So awesome. Takeshi-chan also becomes a Super Saiyan in the end.
I'm sorry about that. What makes Kingdom Hearts the best fanfic of all time, though, is the fantastic writing and a perfect understanding of the source material. Not only does it understand each Disney movie, but it understands the whimsy that is Disney. While Sora and Riku are 14 and 15 respectively, their thoughts and actions make them feel like children. While normally this would be an insult, I mean this in an absolutely positive way. Whimsy goes hand in hand with a childlike sense of wonder. Sora, Riku, and Kairi embody these two traits as their goals are simple and are exactly the same as a child's. They wish for adventure, to explore the world outside of their own, and to be with those they care about. Children don't care for details or need an explanation for why things happen all the time. All they know is that they just happened. Our heroes don't know why Kairi just appeared one day, they just know she did. I think this is even a big part of why the series has become so infamously complex and confusing. Not everything is given an answer or an explanation. You just have to accept it. Throughout their almost entire century-long existence, Disney embodies this perfectly. When you watch a Disney movie or cartoon, you don't question how magic is able to turn a puppet into a boy, nor do you question anything that happens in Wonderland. They are what they are, and they don't need to be anything more than that. That's how Disney has always ran, and that's what Kingdom Hearts understands. Its sense of whimsy and wonder is what's most important. The series will give you an explanation for things it feels need to be explained. Everything else is just to be accepted. You aren't going to know everything about this world, so why force it? One trope I hate with a passion is the well-known power of friendship trope. This trope can be found in all sorts of mediums all over the world, from Japanese animes to American books. I hate this trope as I feel it's incredibly hard to execute. Kingdom Hearts is the only example I can think of off the top of my head that does this trope perfectly, and it's again because of its childlike sense of wonder. The times I see Power of Friendship being the most poorly executed is when it's meant to be a serious answer to a realistic issue. While working together and relying on friends is helpful, not everything can be accomplished just because you have friends. You're not going to win every time just because you have friendship. This is why Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse's use of the power of friendship in the Bonds ending hurts me. Not only is it an out-of-place moral in a series about serious philosophical dilemmas, but it treats the power of friendship like the objective good and the end-all be-all. Even with what negatives it presents for its ending, it still hand-waves it away as not a big deal. It's okay if bad things happen, as long as we have friends, we can do anything. Kingdom Hearts is able to do what so many others can't because it's not meant to be realistic. It's not saying the key to a complex issue is friendship. The story of Kingdom Hearts is complex, but the conflict is very simple. Kingdom Hearts is a story of good versus evil, light versus dark, literally. Many stories are like this, but Kingdom Hearts doesn't complicate things by making the story more than what it already is. This allows for the moral to be as simple as it is, in my opinion. A simple answer for a simple conflict allows for the execution of the answer to be as heartwarming and tearful as the series can be at times. And honestly, this is about all I can say at this point. All I have left to say is that when I started the game, I was only planning on beating the story on hard, but in the end, I basically 100%ed the game, minus the gummy ship challenges, in 52 hours. Also, the fight with the unknown that was added in Final Mix is absolutely one of my favorites in the series now. To end things off, I just want to reiterate what I said about the complexity of the world and the answer I've arrived to after playing these games for so long. You're not meant to understand everything this world has to offer, so why force it?